Welcome, Saints. After a summer break, we have returned to our series of conversations exploring faith in the public square. Christchurch Cathedral is located at the heart of the city of Hartford, Connecticut, with a mandate to be a catalyst and a connector in God's mission. It is in the context of that call that we engage with various organizations and initiatives that further the welfare of our beloved city and affirm our commitment to follow Jesus, traveling lightly into our neighborhoods. Today is a special day. We are blessed with a guest who is the epitome of connection and community engagement. I call her the city leader matchmaker, Jackie Mandyck. As Manager Director of the IQL Partnership, Jackie provides leadership and logistical support for all key IQL initiatives, objectives, and events. Our cathedral is a member of IQL Board of Incorporators. The IQL Plan, formally embedded in the City of Hartford's 10 years master plan, lays out a strategy and design for linking Hartford cultural and physical assets and making intersecting public spaces more walkable, engaging, and vibrant. Prior to IQL, Jackie served as the Community Development Administrator in the Connecticut State of Housing and Community Development. Before that, she served as Deputy Commissioner of the Connecticut State Department of Consumer Protection. And while Deputy Commissioner, she also served as the Governor's liaison for the IQL project. In the private sector, Jackie held different positions at Trinity College in Hartford and had a great impact in the community around it. Jackie serves on the board of the Connecticut Women's Council, Hartford's Hospital of Board Incorporators, and the Betty Knox Foundation. She earned a Bachelor of Science from Syracuse University and a Master in Business Administration from the State University of New York at Albany. She and her husband, John, reside in West Hartford and have two amazing daughters, Maddie and McKinsey. With no further ado, I'm delighted to introduce to you my dear community partner, Jackie Mandyck. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you so much, Jean Howell. Really appreciate it.
This is really exciting to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Could you please share with our audience how IQL came to be and the impact it has had in your career?
Sure. Well, when I was the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Protection for the state, at the time, there was a plan to go ahead and expand the state office building location. For those of you who are familiar where that location is, it's where you park. It's behind where you park for the Bushnell. And at the time, the state was considering building another state office building right behind that, therefore taking out all the parking that is used in the evening for the Bushnell. And so what happened was that the Bushnell decided that, this was definitely going to hurt them because they are landlocked. They don't have a lot of room around them. And the transportation infrastructure in the city of Hartford, the public transportation infrastructure, the buses, et cetera, are just not as extensive as you see in some of our more urban environments, such as New York City or Boston. So therefore, it would dramatically hurt them economically as far as how people would be able to enjoy the wonderful riches that are shared at the time. So they felt as though they really needed to get involved in some of the planning that was happening in and around their building and their campus that they have. And so therefore they embarked on a whole mission of looking for an urban planner, urban designer that could help them look at that area to see what would happen. The 2008 crisis hit, the financial crisis hit, and the plans were scrapped for the second building. But it still led them to say, hey, look at, we need to really look at and participate in our neighborhood and what was happening around us. They hired a fabulous urban planner by the name of Doug Sussman, who grew up in Greater Hartford and relocated out in Los Angeles. And he came back and looked at them. But what he did is he didn't just look at their campus. He looked at all of downtown and really said, how can we start to really take our cultural entities in the city of Hartford and how can we start to connect them? How can we become a more walkable city in an innovative way? And thus was born the IQL Partnership. So really, we were born in a cultural organization. We were born at the Bushnell and then spun off as our own separate 501c3.
And how has IQL impacted your career and your life in general?
Oh, wow. I've been doing community relations and community work for an awful long time, 11 years at Trinity College when I was over there. And I think one of the things working on the iQuote partnership, it really started to dive deeper personally for me, working on several different projects, um, trying to carry not only ideas to locations, but listening to people, figuring out what their needs were, trying to be creative in problem solving, but then also figuring out just not the idea and just not the plan, but how do you follow through? How do you then implement? Because we all have some wonderful ideas, but it's trying to get to the finish line and actually making the change. And I think that has been a pure joy. We've had a lot of great success, and our partners have had a lot of great success, which is even better for us. But getting to know a lot more of the city than what I did. I was very South End focused when I was working at Trinity College. So getting to know more of downtown and the North End has been just a blessing and has been a true delight for me.
That's wonderful. And what have been the highlights for you in connecting with such a diverse group of individuals and organizations? One of the blessings that I see about IQUAL is that it's not focused only on one sector. You have religious leaders, you have people engaged in the arts, you have folks that are in the civic arena of Hartford. What are the highlights for you in the context of that diversity?
I think I go from the big to the small, Lena. It's really about, as you say, we have a very diverse group of people that get together and talk about things at IQUIL, and we bring up ideas and challenges and potential solutions. And I think one of the best, the highlights is to then see people who have never met before all of a sudden start relationships, and then they go off and they do their own thing and they create their own partnership, or they work together on a project. That to me is, that's putting all the puzzle pieces together and it's getting us a bigger puzzle. It just, to me, that's the highlight. It's not necessarily just the work that we do, but it's trying to assemble those people and then have them move on even without IQUIL and start their own projects together. So it's forming those relationships. I think, and especially during the last year and a half of the pandemic, making those connections is getting harder and harder for people because you're not out and about a lot like we used to be, or at events and et cetera. So trying to make those connections has been extremely important. I think some of the highlights, I would have to point to the things that we've been able to complete, Lena, because I think that's the biggest thing is we are just not about putting stuff on a shelf and making a plan. We're about how we can start to move forward and how we can start to build blocks. So it could be some of our work in the Frog Hollow section on Capitol Ave. It could be a very large project that we did along Bushnell Park, which was the Green Walk and expanding the expansion of Bushnell Park and getting $10 million from the federal government. And it could be the whole process that we're going through right now with Hartford 400, which is also such a highlight. But I mean, that's fabulous, but really it's the connections and speaking with people and learning about what they want and where they want to go and trying to help them move forward in their endeavors as well. Because that's what's going to make our city and our region, just transformative and to the next level.
Absolutely. And our cathedral has been a recipient of that connectivity and connection that you foster as IQUIL. We have created new partnerships and are exploring others thanks to the connections that you have established for us and with us. And now that you mentioned Hartford 400, IQUIL has given birth to something that it's very exciting for our future as a city. And I'd like for our audience to learn a little more about Hartford 400. And Hartford 400 is a coalition of the region's major organizations working together to forge a comprehensive river-centered vision and action plan for the Valley and its capital city, one that integrates our environmental, economic, social, transportation, and cultural aspirations. I would like to show our audience a video that is posted on the Hartford 400 website as a matter of context. And then I have so many questions for you so that people can learn what the future has in store for us in this, our beloved city. So I'm going to share. the website is hartford400.org. And I would like for us to see this video. So Jackie, tell us more about Hartford 400.
Sure. Well, Lena, you know, we really, when we were looking at what was next in iQuilt's future, one of the things that we looked at was where can we start to build a stronger, bigger, bolder coalition? As you know, the iQuilt partnership started off as very a downtown-centric plan, and our work really focused on downtown. Hartford 400 takes us out of that. Hartford 400 starts to bring us into neighborhoods in the city of Hartford, but it also takes into a regional focus with Hartford 400. And as we always look at it, you know, it's a lot easier when you have a deadline to start to look and to plan. So we looked at the opportunity of the 400th anniversary of Hartford. And when I mean Hartford, I don't mean just the city of Hartford. I mean Hartford. You know, when we started out, Hartford was a lot bigger back in 1635. And so, you know, Hartford, we look at this as more of a regional context of how can we all start to move or have a vision or move in the right direction. If we can all paddle in the same direction, if we can all, you know, have a general consensus about what our goals are for this region, then we think we can build, you know, long-lasting support, connections, and transformative ideas that will help grow not only the economy, but our society, our equity, our mobility, and our vibrancy in not only our city, but our region. So Hartford 400 is really about trying to get everyone, you know, going in the same direction. As I like to say, we're all paddling north, and we might take different roads or we might take different rivers to get there, but we're all going in the same direction. And, you know, it could be working on big projects or little projects, but at least we all have that large encompassing umbrella that we're trying to look towards the future and have a similar goal.
Thank you. And definitely Hartford 400 is to many people and leaders in the city, the light at the end of the tunnel. There is a myriad of possibilities for not only the city of Hartford, as you mentioned before, but the greater Hartford area when this project comes to fruition in the celebration of our 400th anniversary. Would you like to elaborate more on the various elements of the project, the Green, Grow, Live, Move, Play plan?
Yeah, so after speaking with a lot of people and organizations and businesses, and, you know, I think it's very important when you look at Hartford 400 and what we've done with Hartford 400, we went ahead and it's not like we started off at, you know, base zero here. We really went back and we looked at regional plans, city plans, neighborhood plans, business plans, strategic plans. We took all of those planning documents basically off the shelf, dusted them off, and looked through them. There are countless of hours and dollars spent on some wonderful work that has been done, but has not yet seen the light of day or has not been completed yet. So we tried to take that and look at it and say, okay, what does everybody spend a lot of time on? Because our community, our neighborhoods, you know, our residents here in Hartford have really, you know, participated in a lot of planning efforts. And we wanted to make sure that we honored that good work that has been done in the past and look at that. So we looked at that and then spoke with a lot of people, and we came up with 5 guiding principles, as you mentioned: green 400, grow 400, live, move, and play 400. And so it's all about, how do we make, things more sustainable? How do we make our communities more prosperous? How do we make society more equitable? How do we make things more mobile in all different fashions? And then how do we create a very vibrant, not only economy, but a place for us all to live? If you look at, especially, and I think it was highlighted with the pandemic, if you look at how people are selecting where they want to live these days, it's not necessarily that a job brings them to a location anymore. They are looking at, where do they want to live? It's about the quality of the place. And so I hate to say, Connecticut's not about insurance anymore, or I mean, we have fabulous companies here who support a lot of different people and organizations. But really, it's about, how do you create a place where people want to live? And I think many people are looking at that right now. So we took that into, and it became highlighted again when we were out here with the pandemic in the past 18 months, about how do you really improve the quality of place for not only the region, but the state of Connecticut. And we think Hartford 400 is a vision that does that. Now, you hear a lot about our transportation, or our mobile initiative, which is, we think, a very, very powerful, transformative project for the region. It would really hit home with East Hartford and Hartford, and it transformed them by bringing lands that are owned by the state and used for highways, and it brings those back into useful property, whether those be parks or for future development. And it also starts to reconnect our city. Back in the 1950s and the 1960s, we thought progress was wonderful when we built highways next to our river, and when we divided our city with a 9-lane trench called I-84. But what that really did is it segregated our population in the city of Hartford, and it took away one of our most precious assets, which was the river as well. So it's, how do we start to gain some of that back, and how do we start to turn the tides on that? And I can't emphasize enough, this isn't just about the city of Hartford. East Hartford benefits tremendously. And how our river-centered municipalities look at the river and how we respond to the river is of utmost importance. And I think it really creates that sense of place that we want to create. And again, the transformation process that we think is very important for the region. So, those are the 5 guiding principles behind Hartford 400. Again, a very big price tag on the mobility, but we have several different initiatives, and our partners have several different initiatives and plans that lead and contribute to Hartford 400 and its success.
Absolutely, including our Cathedral renovated space that is now a flexible space for the greater Hartford area in the state of Connecticut to use for the welfare of our city and our communities. When you mention the focus of the river, I can help but think about eco-justice and think about, from our perspective, the creation care as part of our stewardship as followers of God, being good stewards of that gift that has been given to us for us to administer, and to center and care for the resources, the natural resources that are around us. And that's one of the excitements that I feel about Hartford 400, bringing back to the forefront of our common life nature, which is not something that we are right now enjoying in the city.
I 100% agree with you, Lena. And I think it's also, you bring up an excellent point. Instead of us taking away from our nature or our green or our precious resources that we have, we need to figure out how we can both enjoy them, but also care and heal them, because we've done some damage to them and we continue to do some damage. So I think it is utmost important that we always view that through that lens, and the care and the healing that they provide to us, but that we need to provide to them.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you would like to say to our audience? The audience is the Episcopal Church in Connecticut, members of Christchurch Cathedral, the wider Church of the Episcopal Church, as we share broadly these conversations about faith in the city. What would you like to say to encourage people who are seeking ways to connect in their local communities so that they can make either their faith or their commitment to humanity relevant? I keep calling you the leader's matchmaker, the epitome of connectivity and relationship building in our city. What encouragement do you have, or any advice that you would like to share with those leaders out there that are trying to make sense of the challenges that they have in their communities, in how to build capacity, in how to build connections?
You know, Lena, that's a great question. And I don't think I have all the answers to that, but I think what it does, it just starts out small. It doesn't have to be a huge $17 billion transportation project. I think some of the most wonderful moments, the wonderful things that I've had the privilege to work on have been those small connections, have been those relationships, have been, being able to put one person in front of the other and let them fly on their own. And I think in today we have so many very large divisions among our society, among our beliefs, among our community. We have a lot of differences between our haves and our have-nots, and the people who struggle every day. And I think what we need to do is step back, and we need to be kind to ourselves and realize that we don't have to save the world. We're not going to be able to do that solely. But what we can do is we can help a neighbor. We can start to get involved. We can support the local coffee shop that just popped up in a little neighborhood that you drive through on your way to work. We can take a bus every once in a while and experience a bus rather than taking our car. We can ride a bike. We can voice an opinion. We can start to look at, I often say I have a lot of different glasses. So look through someone else's glasses, and see what they are seeing and what their struggles are. So, if I could encourage anyone, it's not that you have to think that, oh, I have to go out and save everything, but it could be that small thing about supporting that small coffee shop, or it could be that cleanup day, or it could be resources that you just offer by connecting one another because you see this, and you're like, wow, those two people should really meet, and bringing them together for a conversation. And it could just be starting a conversation within your own family. So I think, the small things, my daughter's basketball team had a saying, small stuff makes big things happen. And I love that, because if you get enough small things happening, you can really make some big, big stuff happen. And so I think that's what I would encourage people out there. It doesn't have to be something huge. It can be extraordinary. And, look at, what you all have been able to do with your cathedral, making that step, making that huge. I mean, that's very innovative. It's very creative. It's, bringing equity back into your cathedral as a symbol as well. You're kind of the poster child for Hartford 400, Lena. But I think that's the importance is, it's just doing something, or thinking about something, or talking about something. And I think that's where it starts. And then you start to, what I found is once you get into this, it's like the tumbleweed.
I totally agree. Totally agree. It's creating those brave spaces
Yes.
to grow in creativity and in connection. Thank you so much for your time, Jackie. And most of all, thank you for all that you do for the city of Hartford, for our community partners, and for the greater Hartford area. You are a blessing and a gift to us all. And I'm looking forward to continue our work together.
Thank you so
And
much, Lena.
thank you. And to all of you, be ready for our next episode. We will be featuring Milia Bensusan from Hartford Stage. Lots of great things happening in the city of Hartford, and I'm delighted to share with you how our cathedral is connected to the life that the Lord is giving us, not only in the city, but within our community. Thank you.